What happens when Mark Zuckerberg, one of the most powerful technology visionaries of our time, gets red-pilled by the UFC? In this video, we'll explore how Zuck's love of the UFC has changed his outlook forever, and what that means for the future of the metaverse. Let's dive into how the Zuck went from left-leaning tech CEO to libertarian fighter.
This is a big election. What do you think is at stake?
Well, I mean, look, it's obviously a very important and it'll be a historic election. The main thing that I hear from people is that they actually want to see less political content on our services because they come to our services to connect with people. So, that's what we're going to do, where we give people control over this, but we're generally trying to recommend less political content. So I think you're going to see our services play less of a role in this election than they have in the past. I've done some stuff personally in the past. I'm not planning on doing that this time. And that includes, not endorsing either of the candidates. Now, look, there's obviously a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. Seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life. But look, it's and I think, look, at some level as an American, it's like hard to not get kind of emotional about that spirit and that fight. And I think that's why a lot of people like the guy. But I view our role here is to make it so that everyone can express their views on this stuff. And I think that's probably the best role that we can play.
You heard it. That was Mark Zuckerberg, the guy who once stood as one of the biggest donors to the Democratic Party. But over the past few years, something has changed. What we're seeing isn't just a shift in his political leanings. It's deeper. It's the influence of his passion for MMA and for the UFC that have transformed his fundamental values. As he trained in martial arts and attended intense fights, it's clear that Mark began to understand reality as it actually is. The true nature of this world is kill or be killed. His experience seems to have awakened a genuine red pill moment. For example, take his regret over Meta's handling of the Hunter Biden laptop story back in 2020, which he revealed on Joe Rogan's podcast. He admitted that Meta acted under pressure from the FBI. Let's be honest, this isn't something that the Mark Zuckerberg of a few years ago ever would have confessed. That speaks volumes about where he stands today. So what does this mean for the metaverse? As Zuckerberg moves away from his previous left-leaning stances, Meta's virtual world might evolve in ways that we didn't expect. We could see more freedom for users, not just in terms of speech, but digital expression, identity, and even anonymity. Imagine a metaverse where censorship is limited, where users have more control over how they present themselves, who they interact with, and how they explore digital reality, unafraid of being canceled by mainstream brainwashing. Anonymity will become a key feature, allowing for more genuine and unfiltered communication. In essence, the metaverse could become a space for raw, unpolished freedom of expression, rather than the tightly controlled social environments of today's internet. This new approach would be a radical departure from what we've seen before. Meta leaning into decentralized systems, self-expression without fear, and ironically, offering the kind of freedom that Zuck once hesitated to endorse. Mark Zuckerberg once shaped the digital world with a specific, controlled vision in mind. But now, under the influence of mixed martial arts, his mindset is shifting, and that could completely change the rules of the metaverse. Could the future metaverse mirror the UFC, a place of ultimate freedom and raw competition, where only the strongest ideals, identities, and interactions survive? Only time will tell. But one thing's clear, the old rules of social media are being rewritten as we speak. So what do you think? Will Zuckerberg's new values change the future of the metaverse forever?